Howdy ho, folks. Howdy ho. Howdy ho, America and points beyond. Who has power and what are they doing with it? Politics is not a natural act.
That's right.
That's right.
I must admit, I never heard that one from you, too.
There's so many feisty fighters against the greedheads and boneheads. So grab a libation, join the conversation. It's the personal side of politics, and it is surprisingly tasty. And here we are for hour 2 of this very special family reunion episode of the Hightower Lowdown Chat and Chew Cafe Happy Hour, right here in my kitchen. That's where the happy hour is taking place, but you can pull up your own chair and get your own libation, by the way. I've got my Buckethead beer here, a local brew here in the Austin area, where I'm enjoying it. After all, it is a happy hour, and maybe you don't want an alcoholic beverage. That's all right. Have your own beverage, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. We just want you to pull up to the table here and be a part of the conversation. By the way, if you missed the first hour of this happy hour reunion, you can connect to us and get it themselves. I say that so glibly and so easily because I don't know what I'm talking about. Deanna, how do they connect?
That was amazing. Yes. How do you connect? You can go to hightowerlowdown.org/chat and chew. You will find every episode that you could ever imagine. And you can also find it on all of Hightower's social platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also watch it with our partner, Free Speech TV. You'll see their logo in the corner, both in their broadcast airing schedule. There you go. And in their on-demand platforms and on their website as well. So yeah, there's so many ways. There's so many ways to watch our show. So many.
Yes, and we welcome you to do that, and we hope you will, and we hope you'll spread the word. Not only because of this show, but because of the politics we're trying to develop. A lot of people, think that politics, well, that's political campaigns. That's the least of it, actually. The big part is the organizing, the day-to-day work, the speaking up, speaking out, standing out, not being afraid to stand up to the powers that be. And that's what this show celebrates. We know that political campaigns end, but movements don't. They have to keep going, and they have to keep building and persevering. And that's why we wanted to take a night here with you to visit some of the guests, revisit with folks that we have talked to in the past, chatting about what they're doing, how they're making things better. And we've been doing this for 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. We did this as a lark. Like, I don't know. I'm bored in the pandemic. What are you up to? Let's do a show.
Yeah. And here we are 2 years later, and we're bringing you some special takeouts from that, or actually updates from that by chatting with the people we visited with before, chatting with organizers in this hour, grassroots organizers who know how to put the party back in politics. That is so important. Let me just say that for some of the most exciting and most unexpected, I would dare say, progress that's being made in American politics is happening in, of all places, the South. So let's go South. We're going to Georgia right now. In fact, in Atlanta, Georgia, we have our pal Nsé Ufot with us. Hello, Nsé.
Hello, Jim. Hightower.
You have the greatest shirt on. Hold that up.
Here we go.
Eat, sleep, organize, vote, repeat. That is the attitude and the slogan now of the New Georgia Project, which is all about organizing regular folks to take power back from the greedheads and boneheads who are running roughshod over us. And Nsé is just about the best there is in the country at that. She is not only a top voter strategist, but also ringmaster of political fun, believing that, it ought not just be a bunch of committee meetings. Maybe we could get out in the street and boogie a little bit or do whatever, but organize
Absolutely.
is the name of the game here. So Nsé, I know that we have got you in a very good moment because just last week, you and the New Georgia Project had a great victory in that state. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Lincoln County, we made news. Well, let me take it back a little bit further. After the wins of January 2021, where Georgia voters sent son of Georgia, son of Savannah, Reverend Warnock to the United States Senate, and John Ossoff, the backlash was immediate. Senate Bill 202 was passed, this anti-voting bill that made it easier for the state legislature to suppress votes, close polling locations, take over county boards of elections, and they wasted no time trying to exercise their new powers. And the site of one of those first battles was Lincoln County, Georgia, a part of what is known as Georgia's rural Black Belt. These counties, if Georgia is one of America's newest swing states, America's newest battleground states, these are the battleground counties in our new battleground state. So Lincoln County, rural, majority African American. There's 7 polling locations in the county, and they wanted to shut 4 of them down and consolidate them into 3 vote centers. As you know, with most places in rural America, transportation is always an issue. So this was going to be huge. This would absolutely disenfranchise voters, young voters, Black voters, folks without transportation. And we made us think about it. We, mobilized the ordinary voters, launched a press effort, a press campaign, went directly to the County Board of Elections, and had people register their complaints and say why this is a problem. They tried to say that it was a resource issue, right? That the county didn't have the money to maintain 7 polling locations. We asked them to show their homework. They couldn't. And after some back and forth, all 7 polling locations are going to stay open throughout the 22 cycle. So organizing gets the goods. And we continue to prove that over and over again in Georgia. So I'm really proud of our team.
Well, we're proud of you too, and proud of those folks over in Lincoln County. The important thing seems to me that this is not just about one county in Georgia, as important as that county is, but it is a model and an inspiration for counties all over the country. Progress doesn't come just by hoping that it will, waiting for it. You've got to build it. And that's what the New Georgia Project and Nsé Ufot are all about. It's what I call intentionality. If you want to have a little d democracy, then you've got to get out there and do the work of democracy. Democracy is a task, not a thing that's sitting over there.
Absolutely. And we have to organize and fight for the country that we want to live in. Because the truth of the matter, and I think as I've aged and as I've matured, I understand that there will always be enemies of progress, right? Yeah. There will always be defenders of the status quo. There will always be people who they have more resources than we do. But if we are unified, if we are organized, if we are clear about our demands, if we understand power, right? Who has it, who doesn't, how much we need in order to make the thing happen. And if that is our practice, if that is our approach, again, not hoping and wishing, not being the smartest people in the room and just saying the smart things, right? Like that, like just articulating your vision for of just Georgia is not going to get it. You have to fight for it. You have to organize for it. And we're teaching ourselves that lesson and bringing a whole bunch of regular folks with us.
And you're doing it just in a common sense way. It seems to me. You've got another project that you've launched this just recently, I think, called the Barbershop Tour. And I think, as I understand it, the idea behind this is, groups are always complaining, well, we can't get people to come to our meetings. Well, go to the people, go to where they are. And that seems
That's
to be
it.
the idea of the barbershop tour. Tell us about that.
That's it. I think that there's a lot of hand wringing about how to reach Black men. When we think about sort of the demographics that make up the progressive voting bloc in the South, right? You're thinking about women and femmes, you're thinking about young people, people of color. And, you know, it's not a secret that African American women they vote at higher rates than other demographics in the country. But again, I think that there were, particularly going back to like 2020, but even before, a belief that there was a rightward shift of Black male voters, and the Democrats, you know, have sort of thrown their hands up and they didn't know what to do about it. And the way that we train our organizers is that you have twice as many ears as you do mouths. And so we should be listening. You want to understand what Black men are thinking about when they go to the voting booth. You want to understand the trends in their voting behavior. Go talk to them, ask questions, and then listen. And then turn what you hear into insights, right? Run better campaigns, have better messaging, talk about your vision for America, your vision for Georgia. That includes them and their families, so that they can see themselves in your campaign. And that's what we're doing. So we're hitting barbershops. Now that outside is opening up again, we'll do the same thing with beauty salons, but also county fairs and state fairs and dormitory move in and move out dates and Juneteenth festivals, and wherever our people are is where we're going to be.
Beautiful. That's exactly right. And there's so many forums like that. I do a good bit of work with farmers around the country, and I urge them to go to farmers markets. They're already at the farmers market. People are coming to them. So there's an opportunity not just to hand them a potato, but hand them a little pamphlet and a little bit of talk about what's going on.
I'll judge your hog and then give you this voter registration form. Absolutely.
Hog strategy. I like that.
Absolutely.
Well, you've got another project. By the way, the barbershop tour is called Vibe. That's Voters Initiative and Brothers Engagement.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's the umbrella campaign under which we organize with Black men, right? Black fathers, right? Like having conversations about, again, what that means, particularly like in the middle of a pandemic. I think that, you know, people are thinking about virtual school and like what role fathers and dads are playing and what resources and support fathers need as we're thinking about, you know, education. So it's not just what we've witnessed, right, is that when campaigns on both sides of the aisle, when there's a desire to talk to or mobilize Black men, that people always lead with the criminal justice conversation, right? And that in a lot of ways seems pathological. Now, yes, we do have a racist criminal legal system in our country that absolutely needs reform and abolition and a reimagining in all kinds of different ways. But Black men and Black male voters are more than just, you know, criminal justice voters, right? That they are parents and thinking about education, thinking about climate, thinking about the economy and the nature and the future of work, right? Thinking about safety in a much broader context, healthcare, right? All of these things. And so we need to be running, again, better campaigns, doing deeper listening and incorporating what they're saying and those insights into our campaigns.
Organize the whole person.
Absolutely.
Into a political movement. That's what the New Georgia Project is doing. And you've got one more thing that I want to touch on here, Nsé, and that is your Spotify playlist. You're playing music. right?
Yes,
That's
we
right.
do. We do play music. I mean, ultimately, we want to change the culture of
Mm,
democratic participation, change the culture of organizing and civic engagement. I mean, in a lot of ways, what we're doing is not new, right? Like you think about, in Appalachia, like coal miners organizing and the songs that came a part of that. You think about the civil rights movement of the 60s and gospel music and the music of like protest, that protest and organizing have long had a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And we want to keep that tradition alive. And so we are constantly building and connecting with artists, thinking about artists as truth tellers that can help chronicle the sort of the happenings of the day. And so, Spotify is the streaming service that we're using in this moment to put together playlists that tell great stories and that are inspiring, that move people to act, that move people to dance. When we think about our campaigns, I think that joy is a renewable resource that we can continue to
Tremendous.
tap into as we think about how to power our campaigns and keep ourselves encouraged.
Magnificent. Just dance your way to democracy.
There we go. There we go. And then guess what? People keep coming back, right? Like they come back to our meetings.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like our in-person meetings, food, music, and childcare, right? Like when people are like, well, folks are not coming to the meetings and they're not, joining organizations anymore. That's not our problem. Like we don't have those issues. And part of it is that we are creating on-ramps. We are using the things that we know that people care about.
Yeah, right.
And inviting them in to our campaigns and inviting them into our work and trying to help remove some of the barriers. So you are parenting and the meeting is at 6:00 and you know that daycare pickup, you got to pick the bambinos up by 5:30. It doesn't give you time to feed your kids,
Right.
to figure out what to do with them before you get to the meeting.
Yeah.
Bring them, bring
Bring them.
them, bring
Yeah.
them. Well, we're going to feed you. There's going to be great music and we're going to have childcare, right? And so you get to focus on the other parts of what make you you and the kind of, again, the Georgia, the Fulton County, the Atlanta, the Savannah that you want to fight for yourself and for your family.
Real life organizing. That's what this is, and fun. I've got a friend of mine who the Democratic Party in his state kept trying to get him to come to a meeting. And finally he said, if you'd pour a little red wine, I might come to your meeting.
Listen, he tells you directly what he needed in order to say yes. Listen, are you trying to get to a yes?
Yes, exactly. So this is Nsé Ufot, the executive director of New Georgia Project, and she and they know how to, as the old Yugoslavian proverb put it, you can fight the gods and still have fun.
Yes, you
That's our
can.
kind of politics. Thank
I
you,
love
Nsé.
it.
Keep at 'em.
Thank you, Jim. Good to see you.
Man, I loved that line that she said, that joy is a renewable resource. Yes. And it's
Yes.
like you have to take care to do that. You have to intentionally, as you say, always with intentionality, you have to intentionally renew your joy, but it's a renewable resource.
Right. Make it a part of your organizing. If you're organizing and you're not having fun, then you're not intentionally organizing. So, meeting people where they're at, that's the other thing that she presented to us. Nsé does such a great job with that, with her barbershop program. Go to where the people are. Well, that's a lot more than we can say about the corporations that our next guest is fighting. Corporations that are running over people wherever they are, including farmers out there in rural America. So let's go there. The Hightower Lowdown Update. We're on the road talking with grassroots rebels about grassroots rebellions against corporate supremacy. And today we're going to take the rural back road by way of Boston. That's kind of odd, but it works because there in Boston is Nathan Proctor. Nathan is the Public Interest Research Group's director of their National Right to Repair campaign. And we had Nathan on our program last year talking about this phenomena of right to repair, which links farmers with their tractors, right to urban millennials with their computer gizmos, because the issue is the same, and that is, do we have to go through the corporations to simply make a little repair on our devices, or could we do it ourselves? Believe it or not, the corporations don't want us doing it ourselves, and they have essentially outlawed it. But we brought Nathan back because there's been just a little bit of progress here with an action that he and allies have filed. Nathan Proctor, thanks for being with us once again.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right. So let's talk about this. Taking on the corporate bastards who are trying to outlaw our right to repair. Let's start just with John Deere. Tell us a little bit about why John Deere is a focus. You've got a paper that came out called Deer in the Headlights.
Yes, we've, our campaign and my co-conspirator, Kevin O'Reilly, have been really focused on Deere, I think, because as the most dominant manufacturer in the space, they have a majority of the market for over 50% of the market for large farm implement sales. Whatever they do basically becomes the model for what other companies are going to do. And they've really decided to kind of go all in to this locked model of equipment where they sell you the equipment and then it's completely locked against any kind of user control, repair, all the software tools are all locked out of your reach. And then they use that control to then force you to pay for certain things. And then they also take data from the equipment and use it for whatever they decide to use it for without paying you for it.
Yeah. So you own it, but you don't own it in the view of John.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, they even argued in front of the Copyright Office that you own the hardware, but you only have an implied user license to the software that the hardware runs. And if you take something like a piece of farm equipment that runs completely on software and you say you have no right to the software, you've really taken away ownership of that equipment at all, because it can't operate without that software.
I think that would be called a taking from the right wing.
Yeah, well, we argue that it's a tying. And I think that the other thing we're going to talk about is we've put so much focus on John Deere in part because there's a higher legal standard in this country if you're big, if you have dominant market share, which John Deere clearly does. And it becomes illegal under those conditions to use your market size to force your customers into buying connected services. And that's called tying. And this has been illegal under antitrust law for basically 100 years. And we actually filed a complaint, along with the farmers union groups, that says what John Deere is doing is illegal activity. We've accused them in that filing of doing illegal monopolization, which hurts farmers.
And let me just point out here that that this is particularly acute for farmers because traditionally, forever, since we used a stick to dig a trench and put a seed in it, farmers have had a right to and a necessity really of repairing their equipment. There's an old saying: use it up, wear it out, make it do without. That's core to farming, which is a very small margin operation anyway, and subject to weather and politicians and global conglomerates and et cetera. So here comes John Deere saying you can't even tinker with your tractor. I know.
Not even tinker. You can't even install certain spare parts because they require some kind of software file to finish the installation, and we won't let you have that. You have to pay some dealer to $150 an hour to drive up, plug in a laptop, hit a button, and walk away.
And it's astonishing, but the good news is that you, with these farmers and other groups that you've mentioned, are trying to take on John Deere and other conglomerates controlling this. So what have you done? You filed an action with the Federal Trade Commission?
Right. And if, we might have discussed the last time I was on the program, the Federal Trade Commission voted, actually all 5 commissioners unanimously, like Republican and Democrat, because they are political appointees, but all 5 supported like a new enforcement plan for right to repair. Basically, and one of the things that they said is that they want to investigate and enforce existing violations of laws like anti-tying provisions, this term that we just brought in. And I think last time I was on the program, I used the word tying. And Walter Schweitzer, a farmer from Montana, said, "You call it tying, but that's like fancy legal talk. I call it holding me hostage," which is the term that he used. And I think, so we can think of tying like tying you up, hog-tied, and out of control. And that is the condition that farmers are in right now. We believe that this is a pretty strong case for the FTC to enforce their existing rules. And the other thing that we've done recently that really puts a highlight on this is with our new Deer in the Headlights 2 report. We've done an analysis of dealer consolidation and how it adds to this problem. John Deere has been buying up all the small, local, independent, like people who are part of their dealership network, or refusing to have them be continuing part of that network. And the result is there's these giant chains of like 50 or 60 locations of John. They're like these dealership chains. And in fact, there's one John dealership chain for every 12,000 American farms, which is 5.3 million acres of farmland per chain. So you might these out there hanging. Everyone's using their equipment for the same things at the same time. And that is creating huge bottlenecks with the service, because you are talking about one business with 20 locations serving 12,000 farms. And these businesses have pecking orders, right? Like they're more favorable clients are going to get service before the other. And so this is, again, another way in which these big, overly consolidated corporate environment is really harming the little guy.
And their cluelessness about what it is to farm. I mean, if your tractor breaks down for even the smallest reason, some little 25-cent part could happen, then you've got to get that fixed right away. And now, instead of mom and pop dealer just down the road that you've dealt with for years, they're gone. They've been bought out or pushed out by John Deere. Now you've got John Deere, but they're not next door. They're not in the next county. They're
Right.
quite a ways away. So you got to take your tractor in or wait on a technician to come out to you. And meanwhile, your crop is either not being plowed, not being hayed, not being whatever. And there you are sitting there. So this is a huge thing. And if you're not on the farm, you don't know anything about farming. You're not even interested in farming. But the same thing is true if you got a computer. If your cell phone is broken down, it's a smaller version, but it's the same concept that's at work. And so this action that Public Interest Research Group is taking with these others, with the FTC, is an enormous advance potentially if we can get there. And I'm glad you mentioned Walter Schweitzer, the farmer rancher out in Montana, who was on the show with you last year on this. And we've talked to Walter quite a few times before. And he said that he would have laughed a couple of years ago at you if you'd suggested that we could win the right to repair. But now he says, suddenly, boom, 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 I feel very hopeful. Now, that is, for a farmer to say, I feel hopeful, is something. So do you share that optimism that maybe we're going to make some advance here?
I do. I mean, I would say it's really tough to take on, and I've actually sat down and counted the total value of the companies that set up against us on right to repair. It's $10.7 trillion in market cap of opposition that we have. And it's all the dominant firms in manufacturing for every single industry. Because the bigger you are, the less room you have to grow by making better products and winning new customers. So you just squeeze the people you've already got with your equipment.
Yeah.
And they put up a tremendous amount of opposition, but we just feel like we've really gotten to the bottom of the story. We understand exactly how the equipment works, what you can and cannot fix, and why. And it's going to be very difficult, I think, especially for John Deere, to justify that they don't have this illegal hostage-taking system, as Walter would call it, for their equipment, because that's exactly how it's made. That's the purpose it serves. And one of the other things that's really interesting about the equipment, I just wanted that we learned in this report, was actually that the EU requires John Deere to share the materials in the EU, and they're not sharing this materials with American farmers.
Wow.
So every argument they have that, oh, there's going to be all this modification, people are going to make the equipment unsafe. That's obviously not true, and they know it because they're already doing this. And so Walter and other farmers are competing in these global commodity markets with Dutch and German farms, but they have to do it without access to the ability to fix their own equipment.
It sounds
and
like
that's just wrong.
Sounds like, Nathan, that this is something that even a Republican senator could comprehend. Is there some potential here for one or two rogues from the Republican side of the aisle to come over and help pass this thing?
I think so. I mean, this has been a bipartisan issue. We've basically been bipartisan in every single state that we've done, and we're up to I think 20 states so far this year. We had 27 states with bills last year. There's really strong leaders on this issue on the Republican side of the aisle, like Representative Barry Hovis in Missouri has been a just terrific champion for this issue. Tom Brandt is actually a farmer, and one of the reasons why he ran for the Senate in Nebraska was because he felt like he wanted to make a difference on this issue and some of the pressures facing farmers. I think when you get down to it, maybe some of the high level politics, kind of are not aligned with this, but the regular people get it. And especially from these rural communities where, a lot of Republicans represent those folks. But this is an issue that really speaks to people like kind of beyond politics.
And for Democrats out there who are saying, oh, we can't reach the rural people. Well, here's a possibility right here. If you talk about things like this that actually matters to them, maybe they will respond. So very grateful for what you're doing, and the PIRG, Public Interest Research Group, is doing here. And it's wonderful to feel a little bit of optimism about anything these days. And this is a big breakthrough. It's a big breakthrough on its own merits, but also in the larger picture of you can take on big power and win. That's what's at stake here. So we appreciate you, Nathan. And if folks want to be in touch, we've got your contact information up on the screen right there. Can they get involved? Well, obviously, I guess they can talk to their Congress creditor, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have this Deer in the Headlights report, which I really encourage people to check out. It's got some really interesting maps that we did with GIS mapping all of the dealerships in the whole country. And there's a take action link that's right on the bottom of that page. So I encourage people to check out the report and then, make their voice heard.
And that report's available on that website. Correct. Wonderful. Okay. Nathan Proctor, thank you. Keep at them.
I will.
Okay. Is Deer in Headlights the best name of a policy report ever? Is it?
Believe it. So wonderful. Put it to music. Deer in the Headlights. That is fantastic.
It is so good.
And I understand that Nathan has an extra surprise for us.
Yes, he does. He sent this along. He and his brother, Ben Proctor, the Proctor brothers, as they are known, have written a country song about the right to repair fight. And at first I was honestly a little skeptical, but then I heard it and I was like, oh yeah, we have to do this. And so they've given us an exclusive sneak preview for our audience tonight. Y'all are into country? Y'all are into Right to Repair. They've written a song called My Tractor Left Me, and it'll be out soon. You can follow the Proctor brothers and Ben Proctor specifically on soundcloud.com/yodel often, which I also believe in. Yodeling often. That's my people. And get more of his music there. But here is, for now, the exclusive sneak preview of My Tractor Left Me.
I brought home a brand new tractor, but before I could be proud, an error message told me that she would not plow. I can fix most anything, but I stood there like a fool, 'cause I can't fix my tractor without a dealer's software tool. My tractor left me, broke my heart, took my yield. She left me for the dealer, standing in the field. Has the world gone crazy? I can't fix the things I own. She left me for the dealer to work the land alone. We need some legislation to stop this corporate greed. Let's pass right to repair so we can fix the things we need. Let's pass right to repair so we can fix the things we need.
Absolutely spectacular.
I love it so much.
I hope the Grand Ole Opry is calling right now.
I am sure that they are.
I'm going to see Willie Nelson this week, so I'll tell Willie, get this
Honestly,
tractor song, man.
get
Run
this
on
tractor song,
and make
get
it
on
move.
it.
Yeah.
Make it a hit. You know what else is a hit that I hear from people is that we have a weekly email that people can sign up for. Guess how much it costs?
$100.
$100. You would think $100, but no. This weekly email you can get for us for free if you go to hightowerlowdown.org/email.
God,
Sign up there.
Giving stuff away. I don't know.
That, you know what? I think that this speaks to the generous nature of your heart, Hightower, that you are just in it for the public good.
We want people to use stuff. That's it, right?
That's
Just like that tractor,
So if you want to learn more about Right to Repair, if you want to learn more about the work that's happening out in the country, if you want to learn all of this stuff, you want to keep up with what's Hightower's up to, go here and sign up right now.
Get that Hightower Lowdown newsletter, email newsletter every single week. It's available to you for free.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now back to business for our final guest here on the Family Reunion. We wanted to get the big picture of 2022 politics. Pretty important right this year, but not just the Democrat versus Republican beanbag, ping pong,
horse race, blah, blah.
Exactly. That doesn't get us anywhere, but people versus corporation. What about the real issues of politics? And what, in fact, about third-party activism? Impossible, you say? Well, and this time we're going to roll right into Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, New York City, where we've got great community organizer Maurice Mitchell with us. Maurice, thanks for joining us again.
It's good to be here, Jim.
All righty. Maurice has been a long-time community organizer, going back to as a teenager, as I understand, you were doing community organizing. So you're a young man, but an old hand.
Right. I remember your newsletter back in the day. I used to read your newsletter. So.
Well, we're still grinding it out. The Hightower Lowdown. So Maurice is now the executive director of Working Families Party, and we interviewed him last year about what they had going on. And it is an effort to build a multiracial working people's party. As I've noted before, Maurice, some people say we need a third party. I've often said we need a second party. And we've got too many what I call fraidy cat Democrats who are afraid of the people. They say, well, we're scaring people with things like Medicare for all and providing child care. universally across our country. Well, do you find people scared of those ideas?
Well, I find a very, very, very small number of elected officials in certain state houses and in Congress to be afraid. And what they're afraid of, they're not afraid of those ideas. They're afraid of their corporate handlers.
Hello.
That's ultimately what they're afraid of. And so, for example, with President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, which included a lot of really great policies that would transform the lives of working people, you saw a majority of Democrats in the House and the Senate agree with the president, including everybody in the Progressive Caucus and some folks who are considered moderate Democrats. They understood the wisdom of these policies. But then you had people like Josh Gottheimer, Henry Cuellar, who I'm sure you know very well.
Good on him.
And some other folks decide that, you know, a majority of the American people, their own party, you know, the impact that those policies would have on the world, on working people's lives wasn't good enough. They needed to side with, you know, pharmaceutical companies, for example, and others. And so that's why the Working Families Party exists, because we know that a D next to your name is insufficient. That doesn't really help voters understand what your mettle really is and who you'll stand with when times get hard, or who you'll stand with when corporate folks come with their checks and they're ready to pay for the type of fealty that we see with people like Henry Cuellar or Josh Gottheimer, for example. And we think that, yeah, working people deserve a political party and a political home. And that's what we at the Working Families Party do every single day. We wake up every day to create the conditions where you understand that Democrat is a working families Democrat, not just somebody with a D next to their name.
But we need more little d Democrats as well as big D. And I wish they would merge and be the same. But I certainly find that people are not at all afraid of the kind of proposals that Biden initially made in that Build Back Better program, and the kind of programs that you and Working Families Party have been putting together for a long time. I know a person you greatly admire historically is Fannie Lou Hamer, and her great line of that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And a lot of people feel like that these days because they feel run over. So they're looking for the kind of change that you're offering. Tell us a little bit about the response you've been getting. Last time we talked, I know Working Families Party began, and the core of it was in New York City and Connecticut and out in Oregon some, but you've had quite a bit of progress since then. Tell us about it.
Sure. So as you correctly assessed, Jim, Working Families Party started in the late 90s in New York State, and since then has spread to a number of states. So we have staff on the ground in 20 states, including your region. So we have a presence in Texas and also other places in the Southwest, like Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. And we have activists all over the country, in every single state. And people are hungry. People are hungry for politics that are able to speak plain about the problems that people are actually facing and provide solutions at the scale of the problems that people are dealing with. I think that is all working people really want. Unfortunately, the rigid two-party system and the corporate capture of our government and the corporate influence in both of our parties has prevented our political class from speaking plain, from saying it like it is, from being able to articulate who there are actual villains sometimes, right?
Yes.
And sometimes those villains have names. We need a politics that could just speak the truth about these things, talk about these vast disparities, and level the playing field so that everyday working people have a chance and have an opportunity. And we know that people are hungry for that, because when we bring it to folks in every region of the country, right, not just, you know, these coastal elite places where people drink $6 coffee, everywhere, people are hungry for a politics that makes sense to them. And the demand for Working Families Party has never been stronger.
And you've done it right here in Texas. Will shock and amaze many of our viewers, I think, to realize that that indeed we're about to elect. We've already elected one, and maybe three new members of Congress who are endorsees of the Working Families Party. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, Jim. So very recently, Texas had their primaries, right? You all had your primaries, and on the ballot there were 2 open seats for Congress, right? And one primary. So the primary was against our friend Henry Cuellar. Jessica Cisneros has forced Henry Cuellar into a second round of voting. And so we'll see how that shakes out. But she has a great path to victory there. Mm-hmm. And then Austin's own Greg Kazar, he blew out the competition. And Greg is an aggressive progressive. Yeah. And he ran his campaign as an aggressive progressive. Yeah. And they threw everything they could at him. They threw every line you could think of, every right-wing attack, and it didn't work, right? And so that demonstrates that in the heart of Texas, progressive values work and they're popular. So imagine that in Texas, Texas will be sending 3 young, progressive people of color to Congress. That just shows you that our politics work everywhere. And so we're excited that Greg has a clear path to Congress, and we're excited, and we hope that your viewers will be part of the victories of Jessica and Jasmine.
Well, they will be because people are, as you say, looking for change. You know, it's kind of hard sometimes because you have, you know, as many downs as you have ups, particularly in a lot of the harder states. But the only way to have the up is to do the work. Though I'll just ask you directly, because you've been in this a long time, how do you avoid despair? You know, we keep, you know, we think we're making great progress, and then along comes Donald Trump. You know,
yeah,
we make great progress, and along comes Ted Cruz. You know, I mean, so what keeps you pumping?
Sure. Well, I always try to remember that despair is a political project of the far right and those corporate handlers that I talked to you about. And what I mean by that is that when regular people get out of the game, when regular people become cynical and fall into despair, that vacuum is filled by organized money. That vacuum is filled by folks on the far right. So they delight when they see folks on our side, when they see working people decide to drop out because you can't fight with the city hall, things are too hard. We faced a loss that was just a hard fought loss, and it's hard to get back up again. Now, what I try to remind everybody is that there's a lot of reasons why we do our work. We do our work because, of course, we want to win, and we work hard for our victories. But we will win some, we will lose some. Another reason why I get involved is that I want to choose which side of history I'm on. I want to be able to tell my 5.5-year-old and his kids and their kids, you know, in a moment of moral clarity, what choices I made and what side I decided to be on. And that's another reason why we get involved. The last reason is there's something glorious and exciting about being in this work. You know, politics is not a spectator sport. You have to get into it. And I think, you know, people begrudge politics, but all politics is about is people getting together in order to decide some of the most important and intimate parts of our lives and how we want to organize ourselves as a society. And doing that, the people that you encounter, the stories that you're able to weave, the changes that you're able to make, it's exciting, it's fun, it's glorious, it makes a life worth living. So I think there's so many, on top of the victories, on top of making sure that Greg Kazar gets to Congress so that he could stand up in Congress for working people, on top of all those victories, it's about the journey. and the journey is in itself worth it. And the way that it enriches a life is worth it just for the journey. When you know there'll be wins and losses, there'll be ups and downs. Ultimately, I think the journey, that justice journey, is more than worth getting involved.
Well, you're signifying something that I've always advocated in politics, and that it ought to be fun. It's not just a bunch of committee meetings, and that's one thing I've always liked about the Working Families Party, and I've been involved with it since the 1990s, but not with the intensity of Maurice, but certainly as an admirer of the kind of work you're doing. And there's a phrase I've always used that we need to put the party back in politics. Life going to it, and you are just emblematic of that personally and in the work that you do. So we're cheering you on and want to keep in touch with you.
Let's do that.
Okay. Thank you. Maurice Mitchell of the Working Families Party.
Take care.
That is amazing. That line that he had about that despair is a political project of the far right.
Well, yeah, the billionaires count on us dropping out, and the Republican platform is for us to drop out, so that the billionaires can then fill the space we were in with their dollars and take over our democracy and ourselves.
Absolutely. And and I just want to say too, like, we all know that we can't be in the fight 100% of the time with all of everything that we've got going. And like, we know that we have to take breaks. We have to take breaks and rejuvenate and find some ways of doing self-care, and like real self-care, and not like this BS kind of commodified self-care that people are promoting right now, but just like really take care of ourselves so that we can support each other. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, it's something I've never asked you, but like, Hightower, how do you rejuvenate? How do you get self-care?
This helps. But really just to enjoy life, music, a beautiful day, a little stroll, watch a bird, just be a part of the world that you're in, and to connect with you, the viewers, people.
That's true.
Who are out there doing so many just extraordinary things, really, without particularly thinking about it or trying to make a big deal. But that's really what politics should be about. And increasingly, I think it is being exactly that. So we need to stay in touch.
100%. We always want to hear from what our viewers are talking about, are saying, are working on, and we want to hear those stories. So you can keep up with us. I'm going to put this URL up on the screen one more time. hightowerlowdown.org. You can find all kinds of stuff there. You can get subscribed to our weekly emails. You can get the Chat and Chew episodes. You can get Hightower's radio commentaries that he's broadcasting twice a week. There's so much happening that you can keep up with. And we always want to hear from you. We want to hear what's happening, what's going on with you.
I think, DZ, is what's happening with folks where they live. The stories we've told you today, we didn't create these stories. We didn't find them. They found us. Yep. And these are just common folks who are coming up with this great political movement in our country at a grassroots level. So we do want to know what's happening where you live. You can be one of these stories. You probably are one of these stories. So let us know. Keep in touch with us. And thank you for sticking with us.